Good morning. Good morning, Darshana madam.
Good morning.
Good morning to one and all present here. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Good morning to one and all present here. I, Assistant Professor Shobha Shevale, welcome you on behalf of Seva Mandal Education Society's Srimati Kamlaben Gambhirchand Shah Law School. We all have gathered here for today's webinar on shares and payment of dividend under Companies Act 2013, organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome today's key speaker, Dr. Darshana Palwankar Madam. I would like to introduce Darshana Madam. Ma'am is presently teaching in KC Law College, also with GJ Advani Law College and Amity Business School, Malad. Ma'am has been teaching at Reliable Commerce College, Parel from last 12 years. Also teaching subjects like organization of commerce, secretarial practice, financial accounts, land laws, contract laws, and all subjects of law. Ma'am has a professional experience as an accountant assistant with KJ Meghani and Company from July 1995 to February 2004. Ma'am has presented 7 research papers, and about ma'am's alma mater, she has completed her BCom from Mumbai University, LLB from Mumbai University, LLM from SNDT University, and as a first rank holder in business law in LLM, PhD from JJT University, Rajasthan, certificate course in counseling, and diploma in tax management from Wellington Institute. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you so much. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shobha ma'am, for this wonderful introduction. I'm really honored. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, good morning, all of you. So, let's start with this shares in payment of dividend under Companies Act 2013. So, you all students are from second year or first year? Yeah? All are combined?
Yes, ma'am.
First and second year all
Yes,
combined.
ma'am.
Oh,
Combined. Yes.
okay, okay. So few students knows about Companies Act, right? So let's start with this shares and payment of dividend. Now, in accounting terms, when we see capital, it means the amount which is invested in a business. Okay? So when we term as a capital, what you mean by capital? It's an amount which is invested in business. So capital and share capital, these are synonymous. What share capital means? It's a capital which is raised by a company by issue of shares. When the company issues a shares to public and whatever the amount is being received by the company is called as a share capital. So this share capital is not a necessary condition for incorporation of the company. When you want to incorporate any company or form a company, it's not compulsory that you should have a share capital. Now, this memorandum states the amount of capital with which the company desire to be registered and the number of shares into which it is to be divided. Now, memorandum of association is a charter of a company, is the first and foremost important document which has to be prepared when you form a company. In memorandum of association, we have the name of the company, the registered office of the company, the object for which the company has been formed, and the capital of the company. How much capital will be used by the company for doing its business. Okay, so this memorandum states the amount of capital with which the company desire to be registered and the number of shares into which it will be divided. So the share capital is different from membership fees. Whenever the member buys the shares of the company as a member of the company, that is different from the other shares, which is for the public. So companies limited by guarantee and unlimited company may or may not have share capital, but the company limited by shares must necessarily have a share capital. So here we can say share capital means the capital which is raised by a company by issue of shares. Okay. Please move this next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Now coming to the classification of shares capital. Please change the slide. Who is changing the slide? Yeah. Now coming to the classification of shares. Now this capital of the company may be classified into authorized capital. It's also called as nominal or registered capital. So what do you mean by this authorized capital? This is the amount of capital stated in the company's memorandum of association at the time of registration and is called as authorized capital. Now there is no legal limit on the extent of the amount of authorized capital. Okay, you can mention any amount. There is no limit as such. So this authorized capital is the maximum amount which the company is authorized to raise by way of public subscription. Okay, so this is the maximum amount which the company is authorized to raise by way of public subscription. So they can ask money from public. This is the only amount. You cannot go beyond that. That's called as authorized capital. And it is at the time of registration, this authorized capital is being decided. Now coming to the next one is issued capital. Now the amount of capital which is actually issued to public, it's called as an issued capital. Okay. So in other words, we can say issued capital is that part of authorized capital which is offered to public for subscription in the form of shares. Okay. When the company issues share, it will take from the part of authorized capital, and that part is being subscribed to. So it is less in amount than the authorized capital. Like for example, okay, if the authorized capital of the company is 10 crores and consisting of 1 lakh shares of 100 each. This is the authorized capital. 10 crores consisting of 1 lakh shares of 100 each. Now, if the company issued 60,000 shares out of 1 lakh shares, company has issued 60,000 shares, then the issued capital is 60 lakhs and the unissued capital is 40 lakhs. Okay. Next is subscribed capital. Now, it is the part of issued capital for which the applications are received from public, and it is called as subscribed capital. Now, it may be more or less than the issued capital. Okay, the amount of issued capital is taken up, then the issued and subscribed capital will be the same. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Now, coming to the called up capital. Now, what is called up capital? It is that part of allotted share capital which has been called up by the company. Like the amount on shares which is actually demanded by the company to be paid is known as called up capital. Okay, so this is the allotted share capital which has been called up by the company. And uncalled capital, it is that part of allotted share capital which has not been called up by the company. So the company may call this amount any time but this is the subject to terms of issue of shares and the provision of articles. Next is paid up capital. Now this is that part of issued capital which has been paid up by the shareholder or which is credited as paid up on shares. So whenever the company subscribes issues to public, on application, the company will not ask for the full amount of shares. For example, if the value of shares is 100 rupees, okay? So on application, the person, the individual has to pay 40 rupees per share. Later on, company may call for that remaining 60 rupees. So that is called up capital, okay? Now coming to reserve capital. Now it is that part of uncalled capital which has been reserved by the company to be called in the event of its winding up. So it is also known as reserved liability. Now company cannot create any charge on its reserved capital, and it cannot be turned into ordinary capital without the sanction of the court, nor it can be dealt with by the director. It cannot also be cancelled in a reduction of capital. Okay, so these are the classifications of capital. Yeah, coming to the next slide, please. Then it is fixed capital. As we all know, the property which is acquired by the company with the intention to retain it. That is land and building, plant and machineries. These are fixed capital. Then circulating capital is acquired or produced by company with the intention to resell. So that can be current assets. Okay, go to the next slide. Now coming to the definition and nature of shares. Yeah. Now first let us see what is the meaning of shares. Now share is a part or portion which is allotted or belongs to an individual when distribution is made among a member, and also the portion of quota which is contributed by an individual. So it's a definite portion of capital of a company. Now according to section 2 subsection 84 of Companies Act, share means a share in the share capital of a company, and it also includes stock. So this capital of company is divided into number of small units, and each unit is called as a share. Okay, so share means a share in the capital of the company. It's a tangible property. Now let's see the features of the share. Share is a definite part of the authorized share capital of a company, and share is a movable property which is transferable in a manner provided by the Articles of Association, and it is serially numbered so that the shares held by each member may be easily identified, and it also carries with it the rights and obligations of shareholder. As per section 44 of Companies Act 2013, the shares or debenture or other interest of any member in a company which is transferable in the manner which is provided by the Articles of the company. So law also provides that share is said to be a movable property. Shares as well as debentures and other securities. These are movable property. Now coming to the kinds of types of shares. Now under Companies Act, company can issue two kinds of shares, namely preference shares and equity shares. Now when we talk about preference shares, shares which carry preferential right with regard to the payment of dividend and repayment of capital, and to the return of capital when the company goes into liquidation. These are called as preference shares. Okay. So here the rate of dividend payable is fixed, and dividend will be paid first to the preference share holder. So when the company is wound up, capital will be refunded first to the preference shareholder. So thus we can say preference shareholder enjoy priority over other classes of shareholders. Now preference shareholder, however, do not enjoy voting rights except under certain circumstances, and they cannot get higher rate of dividend when company makes large profits. And this preference shares, these are best suited to those who are cautious. Okay, those who don't want to take any risk, for them preference shares shares are very best suited because they get a fixed rate of dividend, as well as at the time of winding up they get a preference over other shareholders. Now coming to the types of preference shares, there are different kinds. First is cumulative preference shares. Now these are the shares on which dividend goes on accumulating till it is fully paid off. Okay, so these are the share on which dividend goes on accumulating till it's fully paid off. So the areas of any year's dividends are carried forward. Like for example, as I have told you all, the preference shareholder, they get a fixed rate of dividend. Now, in case if the company has not made a sufficient profit in that particular year, so what happens in a cumulative preference shares? The dividend goes on accumulating. It will be given in the next year. Okay. So next year dividend along with the arrears of the previous year, that total amount will be paid to the cumulative preference shareholder. So the company is bound to pay dividend only if it has sufficient profits available for distribution. So these shares are entitled to fixed rate of dividend whether dividend is declared or not. So if dividend has not been paid in a particular year due to inadequate profits which are accumulate, it has to be paid during any subsequent year. It will be paid when there is a sufficient profit to be paid. Now, if there is no clear provision to the contrary, preference shares are presumed to be cumulative, and the accumulation of dividend can be excluded only by clear provision in the Articles of Association. So, preference shareholders cannot compel the directors to pay dividend, whatever be the amount of accumulation. Now, coming to the non-cumulative preference shares. Okay, these shares do not carry any such additional right of accumulation of dividend. They are entitled to fixed percentage of dividend out of the profits. So they will not get any dividend if the company makes loss or makes insufficient profit. And they cannot claim arrears of dividend of any year out of the profits of subsequent years. Next is participating preference share and non-participating preference shares. Now, coming to the participating preference share, these shares are not only entitled to a fixed rate of dividend, but they are also to share in the surplus profit which remains after the claim of equity shareholders have been met. So the surplus profit are distributed in certain agreed ratio between the holders of the participating preference shares and the holders of equity shares. Okay, in participating preference shares, what happens? First, they get their fixed rate of dividend. Afterwards, equity shareholder gets the dividend amount. Now, after paying this equity shareholder dividend, if surplus is remaining, if there is a balance of profit, then maybe the company may have done huge profit in that particular year. So surplus, if it is remaining, that again this participating preference shareholder will get the share accordingly. Okay, they will participate in that balance profit. of the company. So that is an additional which they are getting it. Now this right to participate in surplus, it depends upon the terms of contract they have made with the company. And there is no presumption that they have the right to participate unless it is excluded by the articles. Now, next is non-participating preference shares. Now these shares are entitled to only fixed rate of dividend and they do not share in the surplus profit which goes to the equity shareholder. Okay, go to the next slide please. Now coming to the convertible preference shares, these are shares which entitle their holders to convert them into equity shares with a certain period. Okay, so this after a certain period, this type of convertible preference shares are converted into equity shares. So there's an option given after 6 months or after 1 year, your preference shares will be converted into equity shares. So the rights of equity shares will be given to this convertible preference shares. Now, non-convertible preference shares, these are the shares which do not confer on their holder a right of conversion into equity shares. So they will not be converted. Next is redeemable. Redeemable preference shares, a company has a power to issue this redeemable preference shares. So these shares are repayable after a certain agreed period. In this case, what happens? The shares can be taken back by the company from the shareholder after paying them. So they pay them the amount, it has been redeemed. How you redeem your points when you do online transactions and all. So likewise, here this redeemable preference shares, the company takes back the shares. Okay. So these shares also get a fixed dividend. And this can be issued only under certain circumstances. And these are repayable out of the money received by fresh issue of shares or out of the accumulated profits. And these shares must be fully paid up. And non-redeemable preference shares, there's no provisions to pay back. It remains the same. And if there is again an option given by the company to convert it into equity, it can be converted into equity shares. Okay. Yeah, so far, all are there with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Uh, Equity shares, these are those shares which are not preference shares. Okay. So these are called as ordinary shares. So they will not carry any preferential rights as to the dividend or capital repayment. So these shares get dividend after the dividends are being paid on preference shares. Now here the rate of dividend on this share is not fixed. It is determined every year in the annual general meeting. Okay, when the company has an annual general meeting, at that particular time in that meeting, the dividend is being declared for equity shareholder. It depends upon the profit. So dividend may vary from year to year. It is not fixed. Every year you will not get same percentage. Okay. So every year it goes on changing. So it depends on the fortunes or profits of the company. And when the profits are small, the shares get smaller dividend. And when the profits are high, they get higher dividend. Now, equity shares are best to the person who wish to take reasonable risk. The value of shares in the market will rise when the company pays high dividend. So, equity shareholder will have chances of making capital profits. And they are also having chances of making capital loss also. Okay. So, equity shareholders enjoy wide voting rights at the meeting. But these are shares best only to the person who is ready to take risk. Coming to the application and allotment of shares. Now, what is application of shares? It's an offer by a prospective shareholder of a company to take shares. Okay, when the company subscribes shares, and as an individual, if you make an application to the company, you're a prospective shareholder. So you are making an offer. And when company allots the share, that is accepts the your application, that is acceptance by the company of that offer. So it becomes binding contract between company and the applicant. Okay. Go to the next slide, please. Now, these are the general provision regarding allotment. The resolution has to be passed by board of directors, okay, according to the AOA, Articles of Association, because Articles of Association gives us the internal rules and regulations. So according to that, when the company is going to allot the shares, first they have to pass a resolution. And this allotment has to be made within reasonable time. When you talk about reasonable time, it should not be more than 6 months. And it has to be communicated to the person who is making that application. Important point here to notice that it has to be absolute and unconditional. Whenever this company is allotting shares, they cannot put a conditions on the shareholders that if you pay me extra money, then only I will allot shares to you. No, it has to be unconditional and absolute. And any time if the prospective shareholder wants, he can revoke it before he accepts it. Okay, go to the next slide. Now this is a special provision. There has to be registration of prospectus. Now initial offer of securities is in demat form, that is dematerialized form, as per section 68B of Companies Amendment Act 2000. Now company which is offering the shares to the public, then they set a specific amount for subscription which can be taken by the public in order to issue the share. That is called as minimum subscription. The company has to reach the minimum subscription. And talking about application money, it shall not be less than 5% of the nominal value of the shares. Yeah, next slide. Now, in case if the company is not issuing a prospectus, then they can issue statement in lieu of prospectus. Okay, that's a statement in lieu of prospectus at least 3 days before the allotment of shares. Now, the opening of subscription list is that the shares will not be allotted until the beginning of 5th day from the date of issue of prospectus. And if there is some problem or if there is a satisfactory reason for which their time should be extended, then directors may extend the time. Okay. Now, if the company issues a prospectus to general public in form of newspaper on 22nd Jan, then the earliest date of subscription list opens will be, they will calculate until the beginning of 5th day. So here 22nd Jan is a Friday. So they will exclude Saturday and Sunday because Saturday, Sunday is a holiday. Then again Monday, Tuesday, then there comes a 26th Jan, that is Republic Day. So that also will be excluded and accordingly the date will be decided. And shares has to be listed in the stock exchange, that is BSE, NSE, which is mandatory by amendment of 1988. Next slide. Now this is about share certificate. Earlier it was in a physical form, now you have in a demat form. So in share certificate, this is a document which is in writing issued by the company. It states the person whose name appears and he is a register holder of that specified number of shares which are fully paid or which are partly paid. Okay. And there will be a seal, common seal of the company, and it has to be signed by at least 2 directors and secretary. Name, address, and occupation of the shareholder also has to be stated in that, and it will carry specified class of shares, like whether it is a preference share. If it is a preference, then which type of preference share, or it is an equity share. Okay. Next. Now coming to the other classes of shares, deferred shares. Now according to Companies Act 2013, a public limited company can issue preference shares and equity shares, but it cannot issue deferred shares. It is only the private limited company can issue deferred shares. Okay. So deferred shares, these are also called as founder shares or management shares, and these shares will get divided, and they also get dividend after dividends are paid on the preference shares and equity shares. So they rank last in payment of dividends. And in case of winding up, they will be paid back their capital after other classes of shareholders are paid. Okay. So these shares get dividend only when the company makes huge profit. And these shares are generally issued to the founders or promoters of the company. So these are suitable to the spectaculars who are prepared to take great risks. So this is deferred shares exclusively issued by private limited companies. Along with equity and preference shares, private limited company can issue deferred shares also. Okay, and they are usually taken up by the founders or promoters of the company, and they get payment of dividend after paying the equity and preference share holder. Next is bonus shares. Now what is bonus? It is something given in addition to what you usually get, right? That is called as bonus. Now if the articles of the company permit, it may convert the part of reserves into share capital by issuing fully paid bonus shares to the existing shareholder. So instead of paying dividend or bonus in cash, what the company will do? Company will issue fully paid up new shares to the shareholder. This old shareholder, those are existing shareholders. At that particular year, instead of paying dividend in cash, they will give them the bonus shares. So normally this bonus is paid to the shareholder in the form of fully paid shares free of cost. Now important point here, you have to note it that bonus shares cannot be issued as a gift. Issue of bonus shares is called as a capitalization of profit. So bonus issue is not an offer, it is a capitalization issue. So it is also known as a scrip issue. And this bonus shares shall be fully paid. Okay. Next is right shares. Now when the unissued portion of authorized capital is not issued earlier, but it is issued now to the existing shareholder of the company. So they get first right to get it. Okay. That is known as, this right is known as right of preemption. So here the shares are meant for existing shareholder, and these are called as right shares. So whenever the company takes unissued portion of its authorized capital, so first they will not give it issue to the public. They will give first offer to the existing shareholder. Okay. Next. Now this is related to the remedy. When a shareholder fails to pay the call on shares, as I told you earlier, when the company issues share to the public, on application it will not ask the full amount of shares. So that time, suppose a company has issued a share of 100 rupees. So on application, 40 rupees are received from the prospective shareholder. Remaining 60, company can issue a call on any time. Okay. So now, if the shareholder fails to pay the call on shares, so there are two remedies company has. Company may sue him for the amount due or may forfeit his shares. Okay? So if a member who is having been called upon to pay, he defaults, then the company can bring an action against him. So forfeiture of shares takes place for non-payment of call. So forfeiture of shares means compulsory termination of membership from the register of members. So that is, it's a kind of confiscation of the shares held by the shareholder. Company takes back the shares because the shareholder is not able to pay the remaining amount of call money. Then the company asks for that call money. So as per Companies Act 2013, it does not expressly give any statutory rights to companies to forfeit the shares. But articles of association usually gives the power to the director to forfeit the shares for non-payment of call. Okay. As per Companies Act, there is no statutory right, but it is articles of association which empowers the director to forfeit the shares. Now, if the articles are silent, then the company may alter the article or can get the sanction of the court for the purpose of forfeiting the shares. Now, what are the essentials of valid forfeiture? The power to forfeit the share must be expressly provided by company's articles. And shares cannot be forfeited for any reason other than non-payment of call. Company cannot forfeit, take back the shares of the shareholder unless the reason of non-payment of calls is there, not for any other reason. Okay? And the forfeiture must be done in a duly converted and constituted meeting of board of directors. The directors must pass a resolution for forfeiting the shares. And the defaulting shareholder should be served with a proper notice intimating the intention of a company to forfeit the shares. Okay. First, the list is prepared by the secretary, who are the defaulters. Then the resolution is passed that the shares will be forfeited. And for that, notice will be served to the defaulting shareholder that time limit will be given. If you don't pay the call money during this period, your shares will be forfeited. So first notice has to be served on the defaulter. And the power of forfeiture is in the nature of trust. So it has to be exercised in good faith and only for the benefit of the company. Okay. So right of forfeit must be exercised by proper parties, that is directors, in a proper manner and for the proper cause. So this proper procedure for forfeiture of shares is been given in Pramila Devi versus the People Bank of North India case. It's a 1939 case. Pramila Devi, if you want, you can note it down. The proper procedure of forfeiture is been given. Forfeiture of shares. Pramila Devi versus the People Bank of North India, Bombay. Now coming to the surrender of shares. Now when a shareholder voluntarily gives back or surrender his shares to the company, so he is said to surrender his shares to the company. So in other words, surrender of shares means return of shares by shareholder to the company for cancellation voluntarily. So the company in normal circumstances cannot accept the surrender of fully paid up shares since it amounts to purchase of it illegal and void. Company cannot purchase its own share. If it purchases its own share, then it becomes illegal and it is void. Okay. So the only exception where fully paid up shares may be accepted is when the shares are surrendered in exchange for new shares of same nominal value, but with different rights. So it is because in such a case, the capital is not reduced, but it is only replaced. But a company can accept surrender of partly paid shares when the shares are liable to be forfeited by the company in the very near future for non-payment of calls. So if the shareholder is unable to pay the call money and he know about it that he will not be able to pay, or if he becomes insolvent or bankrupt and in near future he will not be able to pay the call money, he voluntarily can surrender the partly paid up shares to the company. So by surrender of shares, the formality of forfeiture of shares may be set aside when the member voluntarily surrenders his shares. So this is regarded as a shortcut for forfeiture of shares. The company may accept it in order to avoid this complicated procedure for forfeiture so that they can save the labor, time, money. The company may cancel or reissue this surrendered shares. Now, there is no provision either in Companies Act or in Table A of Schedule 1 of Companies Act 2013. But articles of the company may allow it. Okay. So, again, surrender of shares and forfeiture of shares has to be authorized by the articles. Now, coming to transfer and transmission of shares. Okay, so what transfer will mean? Transfer of possession, which is lawful and valid. And the transfer is the one whom a transfer is made, and the transferor is the person who makes a transfer. So what is transfer? Transfer means transfer of possession, which is lawful and valid. And the person whom the transfer is made is called as a transferee, and the person who makes a transfer is called as a transferor. Now, shares are movable property. Okay, so they are transferable according to law. So they can be transferred either voluntarily or involuntarily. Now, voluntary transfer is known as transfer of shares. So it takes place when the member willingly pass on his shares to another. That is called as voluntary. It's called a transfer of shares. Now, involuntary transfer of shares is on account of operation of law. That is called as transmission of shares. So, when transmission of shares occurs, it occurs in case of death, lunacy, or insolvency of a member. So, the passing of title or property in shares by operation of law on the happening of events like death, bankruptcy, or lunacy of the shareholder to his legal representative. Okay. So, when a shareholder dies, the title to his holdings in shares and right to transfer, it passes to the executors. Okay. If the shareholder dies, so his title and his holding in shares, right to transfer, everything passes to the executor. If he has made some will, so the executors are the person who will execute his will. So first it will go to the executor. Or suppose the shareholder becomes bankrupt, then the title of his holding in the shares and right to transfer passes to official assignee. And in case of lunacy of a shareholder, then his right in share pass to his guardian who is appointed by court. Okay, so in case of transmission of shares, transfer deed is not necessary. But in case of transfer of shares, transfer form has to be filled up. So the person to whom the shares are transmitted should make an application to the company for transmission of shares in his name. And if the company without any valid reason refuses to accept a transmission, then there are the remedies available, same as in the case of refusal or transfer of shares. Okay. Go to next slide, please. Now coming to the last part, that is payment of dividend. Now, one of the main objects of any company is to earn profit, right? And this profit they are going to distribute among the shareholders by way of dividend. Now, there is no special authority either in memorandum or articles that is necessary to enable a company. This power is implied, okay? That whenever the company issues shares, it is an implied that on the shares, dividend is to be paid. So, Companies Act does not define the term dividend. So, in common parlance, what we say, dividend is a share or portion of any sum of money, especially profit of the joint stock company, which is to be divided amongst a number of persons, that is shareholders. Okay, so dividend is that portion of the corporate profit which has been set aside and declared by the company as liable to be distributed among the shareholders. Now there are kinds of dividend: annual dividend and interim dividend. Now usually dividend is declared and paid at the end of financial year. Now such dividend is called as final dividend or annual dividend. But sometimes dividend may be paid to the shareholder even before the end of financial year. So such dividend is called as interim dividend. An interim dividend is a dividend which is declared by the company between two annual general meetings. So it is paid in addition to the final dividend. Okay? So dividend may be final dividend or interim dividend. Now what are the principles of payment of dividend? Now there are two fundamental principles for the payment of dividend. Now the first is that dividends must never be paid out of capital. And the second principle is supplement to the first one, that dividends shall be paid only out of profits. Okay? So the first principle is that dividends must never be paid out of capital, and the second principle is states that dividends shall be paid only out of profits. So the payment of dividend out of capital is a breach of trust, and the company may require the director to replace the capital. Okay, if the director declares the dividend out of capital, it's a breach of trust, and therefore the company may make the directors liable to replace this capital. So there is one case, K. Madhav versus Popular Bank. K. Madhav versus Popular Bank, AIR 1970 case. In this, it has been held that payment of dividend out of capital is a breach of trust, and the company may require the directors to replace the capital. However, directors may recover indemnity from the shareholders who have received the dividends out of the capital. So they can ask again from the shareholders. Now coming to the punishment for failure to distribute dividend, that is according to section 127. So where a dividend has been declared by company but has not been paid, or warrant in respect thereof has not been posted within 30 days from the date of declaration to any shareholder who is entitled to the payment of dividend, then every director of the company shall, if he is knowingly a party to the default, be punishable with imprisonment, and which may extend to 2 years, and with fine which shall not be less than 1,000 rupees for every day during which such default continues. And the company shall be liable to pay simple interest at the rate of 18% per annum during the period for which such default continues. Okay, so if there is any default made for payment of dividend after declaring the dividend, and the payment is not made within 30 days from the date of declaration to the shareholder who is entitled for the payment of dividend, then every director of the company who is part of that default shall be punishable with imprisonment, which may extend to 2 years, and with fine, which shall not be less than 1,000 rupees for every day during which such default continues. And company shall also be liable to pay simple interest at the rate of 18% per annum during the period for which such default continues. Now, there is an exception to this, that no offence under this section shall be deemed to have been committed where the dividend could not be paid by reason of operation of any law, or where the shareholder has given direction to the company regarding the payment of dividend and those directions cannot be complied with and same has been communicated to him, or where there is a dispute regarding the right to receive the dividend, whether the shareholder is a right person to receive the dividend, maybe he may be the fake shareholder. The dividend has been lawfully adjusted by company against any sum due to it from shareholder or for any other reason. So in that case, it will not be an offence. Now, once a dividend is declared, it becomes a statutory debt from the company to its shareholder. Okay? So, shareholders' right of participation in profits of company exists independently of any declaration of the dividend by company. The declaration is necessary only for the enjoyment of the profits. Now coming to dividend warrant. Dividend warrant is an instrument containing an order on company's banker authorizing it to pay the stated amount to or to the order of the shareholder named therein who is entitled to claim dividend. So what is dividend? It is an instrument which contains an order on the company's banker and it authorizes it to pay the amount which is stated in that warrant to the shareholder or to the order of the shareholder who is entitled to claim the dividend. So this is a written order to a banker authorizing the payment of dividends. Now it is in two parts, okay, upper part and lower part. Now upper part is a notice of dividend to the shareholder as well as certificate of deduction of income tax, and the lower part is a dividend warrant. So the dividend warrant issued to a shareholder may sometimes be lost, destroyed or mutilated. So in such case, he can request the company to issue a duplicate warrant. Last part is dividend mandate. Now what is dividend mandate? It's a request from any shareholder having a bank account to pay dividend to his bank directly in the bank. It's known as dividend mandate. So this mandate authorizes the company to deposit dividend direct to the bank account of the shareholder. So for sake of uniformity, companies supply the mandate form to the shareholder. So whenever you're buying the shares of any company, you have to fill up this dividend mandate also. So directly the dividend is being deposited in your bank. Okay? So this is what is shares and payment of dividend. Okay? Thank you all of you. Yeah, Shobha ma'am is there.
Yeah, this is Professor Dipali, Dr. Darshana. Very good
Yes.
morning, ma'am. So I
Good
would request
morning.
students, if you have any queries, any questions to be asked, you can put it across on the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask ma'am. Especially SYLLB and fourth year BBA students because you have this subject in your this semester. Any questions, any queries? Yes, students? Anyone?
I don't think they have any question.
Because the presentation was clear enough, ma'am, indeed.
Thank you so much.
Well, there is a question, ma'am.
Share certificate valid. One second. Oh, which case you want, Merunisa? Share certificate valid essentials to be followed. Please let us know details. Share certificate is being issued by the company, Sangeeta. So what are the essentials? You want me to explain again the share certificate part? It's been shared in the slides. You can
Madam, I do that.
take. Yes, who is it? Yeah,
Hello. Yes, I'm there, madam.
not audible, please.
Yeah, I wanted to know the section, relevant section where the minutes are. Hello,
Yeah,
madam. Hello.
huh. Carry
Hello.
on, carry on.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to know a section relevant to the share certificate where the HGM is conducted to issue a share certificate, madam. Can you say about it? Any particular section is followed where the HGM decides the general meeting, whatever the committee meeting is deciding, and the minutes are essential for to issue the share certificate. So I wanted to know a particular section which is applied to this particular part.
Share certificates. Not clearly audible.
Uh,
I wanted
excuse
to
me.
know a section, madam, relevant to it.
Section 56, certificate of shares, section 46, and delivery of certificate of shares is section 56. So go through section 46, that is certificates of shares.
So, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Merunisa, which case you want?
madam.
I do.
Merunisa, are you there?
Left, huh?
I
I also.
don't think so. I think she
Huh.
left. Or maybe there is a network issue. Probably she's not there in the class. Well, is there any few queries or any queries to be asked? Any more queries? Yes, girls? Well, I take it as no. Let me move ahead to the vote of
Yeah,
thanks,
good
ma'am.
mom.
Good morning, all. I, Professor Dipali Kaure.
Yes, yes, very much.
Am I audible, ma'am? Yeah. Thank you. Let me proceed. Good morning, all. I, Professor Dipali Kaure, on behalf of Seva Mandal Education Society's Srimati Kamlaben Gambhir Chand Law School. And I'm here to present vote of thanks to our guest and the key speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Darshana Palwankar, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and taking out time from your busy schedule for today's webinar. Thank you, ma'am. You highlighted the key points and gave thorough run through to a very important topic or an important part of the Companies Act 2013, that is share and payment of dividend. And I'm sure this is going to help our students. This today's lecture is going to help our students in their academics and in future practice. I further extend my vote of thanks to the management for their constant support and endeavor. I also thank our principal, Mrs. Rakhi Gadve ma'am, Vice Principal, Mr. Rajesh Kardak sir, teaching and non-teaching staff, and all the students for participating in today's webinar and making it a success. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for joining with us.
Thank you,
Thank
Dipali
you.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
It's my
Yeah.
pleasure, ma'am. Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Can I?
Well, we conclude. Yes, ma'am. We conclude this today's webinar, students. All can sign off. Thank
Thank
you, ma'am. Even you
Yeah.
can sign.